The sky turned purple the day the Vrathi came. Not storm clouds or sunset gold, but a sickly pulsing violet, like the planet itself was bruised. 12-year-old Amina huddled in a basement in Nairobi, clutching her brother's hand so tight. His knuckles turned white. Above them, buildings screamed as metal tore through air. Her parents were gone, vaporized in a market 2 weeks earlier by a Vrathi cleaning strike. She didn't cry anymore. Tears felt useless now. The Vrathi weren't invaders. They were pests. Swarming, chittering, faceless horrors in exosuits that clung to their bodies like second skins. They didn't speak. They clicked. And when humans resisted, they burned cities as punishment. But Earth wasn't defenseless. Not yet. In a bunker under the Himalayas, Dr. Lena Voss stared at a hologram of a Vrathi warship. Her daughters. Face flashed in her mind, burning alive in a New York shelter during the first attack. Lena's hands shook, but her voice was ice. Take it apart. Every wire, every weapon. We're building something new. Her team called it Project Ghost. They weren't soldiers. They were scavengers. Physicists who'd once studied black holes. Mechanics who'd built racing drones. Hackers who'd broken bank codes for fun. Now they worked in silence, reverse engineering Vrathi tech. The aliens had made a mistake. They'd assumed humans were weak, too busy killing each other to unite. But desperation is a glue stronger than blood. Boss, shouted Raj, a wiry engineer with burns on his arms. Got a live one. He held up a pulsating orb, the core of a Vrathi drone. It hummed, glowing like a trapped star. Lena's eyes narrowed. Hook it to the reactor. Let's see what this thing can really do. Weeks passed. The Vrathi tightened their grip, dropping acid bombs on Jakarta, enslaving millions in the Sahara. But deep in the ice, Ghost took shape. Then the children died. Amina's turn came on a Wednesday. The Vrathi dropped a sterilization canister in a refugee camp, a canister that melted lungs and turned screams into silence. She survived because her brother shoved her into a latrine pit before vanishing in a cloud of green mist. She clawed dirt over her face and breathed through a pipe until dawn. When rescue ships arrived, she didn't move, didn't cry, just stared at the sky and whispered, "Why?" Earth's answer was buried in Siberia. Project Ghost had a name now. Star Destroyer. The ship was a nightmare forged from human rage, a mile-long blade of black alloy, its hull studded with cannons ripped from Vrathi corpses. Fusion engines roared beneath it, hot enough to melt steel from miles away. But it needed a crew. Fighters. Monsters. Lena found them in the ruins. Kofi. Mensa was a Nigerian naval officer who'd watched his fleet sink in the Atlantic. He'd survived on rainwater and dead fish for 3 months, then walked 500 miles inland. His Navy uniform hung off him like a scarecrow's rags, but his eyes still burned. Give me a ship, he told Lena, just one. Mira Chen was 17, a hacker from Shanghai who'd crippled Vrathi drones by singing code into her wristband. Her parents had been executed for cyber terrorism. She laughed when Lena offered her a seat on the bridge. You think I'm scared of dying? Try coding in 0G while throwing up. They weren't heroes. They were broken things, stitched together by hate. The Vrathi learned about Star Destroyer the hard way. It launched on a Monday. Amina watched from her refugee tent as the sky split open. A black shape tore through clouds, trailing fire like a comet. The Vrathi orbital platforms opened fire, but the destroyer was faster, hungrier. Beams of white-hot energy lanced out, vaporizing a mining colony on the moon. They're shooting. The moon! Someone screamed. Lena stood on the Siberian launch deck, her hair whipping in the wind. She didn't cheer. She didn't smile. She just said, "Signal the others. Tell them to rise." 4 more destroyers erupted from hidden bases. Antarctica, Madagascar, the Andes. The Vrathi swarm scattered like roaches in light. Kofi's voice crackled over comms. "Admiral here. Targets are fleeing toward Mars. Orders?" Lena's reply was cold. "Burn them. Burn all of them." The first battle lasted 6 hours. The destroyers danced through debris fields, their cannons chewing through Vrathi carriers. Mira hacked defense systems, laughing as alien ships turned on each other. Kofi rammed a Hive Queen's flagship, splitting it like an overripe fruit. But the Vrathi fought back. A pulse weapon detonated near destroyer Valkyrie, tearing off its engine. The crew bailed out, floating into the void like ragdolls. Amina's camp lost power for days when a stray beam fried the grid. Lena watched the carnage from her war room. She didn't sleep, didn't eat. She just stared at the hologram, whispering names. Daughter, son, Nairobi, Jakarta. Then Kofi called. Boss, we got a problem. They're retreating, but they're broadcasting something, a message. The screen flickered. A Vrathi queen appeared, her carapace glittering with trophies of dead generals. She clicked once, her voice translated by stolen human tech. You burn our ships. You kill our young. But you are weak. You fight because you fear extinction. We fight because we are extinction. Lena leaned into the mic. Her voice was a blade. No. You fight because you don't know what we're capable of. She gave the order. Take the fight to them. Find their homeworld. Erase it. The destroyers turned toward the stars. But Earth wasn't done yet. In the months that followed, more ships rose. Teenagers welded armor plates in abandoned factories. Grandmothers coded targeting software in bunkers. Amina joined a youth militia, learning to fire a plasma rifle while dreaming of the day she'd see the aliens. Purple blood spill in vacuum. The Vrathi thought they'd won when they killed the old world. They were wrong. They'd forged something new in the fire, something hungrier than they could comprehend. The destroyers weren't just ships. They were the anger of a billion ghosts, and they were just getting started. The Star Destroyer Valkyrie burned for 3 days. Its shattered hull floated near Mars, a skeletal monument to humanity's first real victory, and its first taste of loss. Inside the command deck, Kofi Mensah stared at the flickering hologram of the Vrathi fleet. His hands were stained with oil and blood. 2 of his engineers had died sealing a reactor leak hours earlier. He didn't blink. They're regrouping, Mira Chen said, her voice tinny over the comms. She was 17, but her eyes looked twice as old. Scans show 50 new ships forming a wall near Jupiter. They're building something. Lena Voss's face appeared on the screen, her jaw tight. A shield? A weapon? Neither, Mira muttered, fingers flying over her keyboard. It's a nest. They're hatching more of them. The Vrathi weren't just fighting, they were breeding. Back on Earth, Amina fired her plasma rifle at a target painted like a Vrathi soldier. Her aim was shaky, but her instructor, a scarred ex-Marine named Ramirez, nodded. Better. You'll be on a front line soon. Amina's brother was dead. Her parents were ash, but she didn't cry. Not anymore. I'm ready now, she said. Ramirez lit a cigarette, the flame trembling in his cracked hand. Kid, you've been ready since the day you crawled out of that latrine. Earth had become a factory of war. Cities were gone, replaced by shipyards and training camps. Old rivals, Russians, Americans, Israelis, Palestinians, worked side by side, welding armor plates and coding AI drones. The Vrathi had united humanity, but not in peace. In rage, the Vrathi Queen's voice echoed across the solar system. Her message wasn't a threat. It was a warning. You think your fire ends us? She hissed, her carapace glittering with stolen human tech. We are the swarm. We are the hunger. When one dies, 1,000 rise. Lena watched the broadcast from her Siberian bunker. Her coffee gone cold. The Queen's words gnawed at her. They're winning, she thought. They'll outlast us. Then Mira called. Boss, I hacked a Vrathi data core. Their homeworld isn't a planet, it's a ship, a mobile hive bigger than Earth. And it's heading here. Lena's breath caught. Where? Saturn's orbit. But it's protected by a gravity well. Any ship that gets close gets torn apart. Kofi's voice cut in. Unless we use their own tech against them. The plan was suicide. Mira would pilot a captured Vrathi drone into the gravity well, hacking the hive's defenses from the inside. Kofi would lead a fleet of 3 destroyers to distract the swarm. Lena would stay behind, coordinating the strike. No, Amina said, stepping forward. She'd snuck onto the Siberian base, her uniform too big, her hair shaved to stubble. Let me go. Lena frowned. You're a child. I'm 12. I've killed more aliens than most of your soldiers. Amina's voice didn't waver. They took everything from me. Let me take something back. Lena hesitated, then nodded. The mission began at dawn. Amina sat in the drone's cockpit, her hands gripping controls too big for her. Mira crouched beside her, grinning. Ready to crash a party? Just don't let me die before I hit the target. The drone launched, slicing through debris fields like a knife. Behind it, the destroyers Valkyrie, Aegis, and Ghost roared toward Saturn, their cannons blazing. The Vrathi swarm descended like a storm cloud. Contact, Kofi barked. All ships, fire at will. The battle was chaos. Energy beams lanced through the void, turning asteroids into vapor. A Vrathi carrier rammed the Ghost, tearing off its starboard engine. Mira's drone dodged shrapnel, its hull pockmarked with craters. Almost there, she muttered, typing furiously. Amina, now! Amina triggered the drone's override. The ship lurched, diving into the gravity well. The Queen's hive loomed, a pulsating mass of organic metal, its surface alive with writhing drones. Got it, Mira shouted. Defenses are down for 60 seconds. Kofi didn't wait. All ships full speed ahead. The destroyers surged forward, but the Vrathi were faster. A beam of black light erupted from the hive, striking the Ghost. It vanished. No explosion. No debris, just gone. Amina. Lena screamed into the comms. Static, then a voice. Weak, trembling. It's done. I'm inside. The hive convulsed. Amina's drone had injected a virus into its core, turning its own systems against it. Alarms blared. Drones froze mid-air. The Queen screeched as her throne cracked. Now! Lena yelled. The destroyers opened fire. Beams of annihilation carved through the hive, splitting it like a rotten fruit. The Queen's final scream echoed across the void as her body dissolved. Victory. But the cost was etched in silence. The Ghost was gone. Amina's signal faded. Mira vomited blood into her helmet, her organs ruptured by radiation. Kofi stared. At the wreckage, his face hollow. Back on Earth, Lena stood alone in the Siberian snow, holding a cracked wristband. Amina's last transmission. Mission complete, the girl had whispered. Tell my brother. I avenged him. Lena didn't cry. She looked at the stars and said, This isn't the end. It's just the beginning. The Vrathi had 1,000 lives. Humanity had something worse. A memory. And they'd burn the galaxy to avenge it. The silence after the battle was worse than the screams. Kofi Mensa stood on the Star Destroyer Aegis, staring at the smoldering wreckage of the Vrathi hive. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of what they'd done. The Queen was dead. Her swarm had scattered like ash, but the cost gnawed at him. The Ghost was gone. Amina's signal faded. Mira Chen lay in the medbay, her body failing from radiation burns. They'll come back, Lena Voss said over comms, her voice brittle. They always do. Lena wasn't wrong. Deep in the ruins of the hive, something stirred. On Earth, the survivors celebrated with hollow laughter. Cities were graveyards, but the skies were clear for the first time in years. Children played in the shadows of half-built destroyers, their games mimicking battles they'd never understand. Amina's face was painted on walls in Nairobi, Shanghai, Rio, the girl who broke the hive. But Ramirez, the scarred ex-Marine, knew better. He watched a group of teens argue over who got to join the next mission. You think this is a game? He barked. You die, you stay dead. A girl with braids spat. So what? My family's already ash. I'd rather die fighting than rot in a bunker. Ramirez lit a cigarette and handed it to her. Then you're ready. The Vrathi weren't finished. Buried in the hive's core, Mira's virus had done more than destroy. It had awakened something. The survivors called it the Silent Queen. She wasn't born. She was forged. A fusion of Vrathi DNA and stolen human code, her mind a storm of memories from every soldier who'd ever died in the war. She spoke in whispers, infecting drones with her rage. Humanity thinks it wins, she hissed, her voice echoing across dead channels. But we are adaptation. We are memory. Her first strike was subtle. A destroyer. Patrolling Mars went silent. No explosion, no distress call, just silence. When Kofi's team boarded it, they found the crew frozen in place, alive but staring at the walls, muttering in Vrathi. They're infected, Mira rasped, her voice weak from the medbay. The virus didn't kill them. It rewrote them. Lena's jaw tightened. Burn the ship. No, Kofi snapped. We study it. We end this. The Silent Queen struck again. This time, Earth Amina's old refugee camp in Nairobi was hit with a memory bomb, a pulse that forced humans to relive their worst moments. Survivors clawed at their eyes, screaming as they drowned in visions of dead loved ones. Ramirez found the girl with braids curled in a corner, whispering, I'm sorry. They're making us feel, he growled. They know guilt's worse than fire. Lena called a council. The remaining destroyers gathered, in orbit, a battered fleet of ghosts. Mira floated in a zero-G chamber, her body hooked to machines. Kofi stood rigid, his uniform patched with scrap metal. We fight back, Lena said, but not with weapons. The room froze. What? Kofi asked. We've been chasing them, now we lure them. She pulled up a hologram of the Milky Way. We plant false data, make them think Earth's defenseless, let them land. Then, we hit them where it hurts. Mira coughed blood. You're talking about using ourselves as bait. Lena's eyes didn't waver. Yes. The trap began with a lie. A fake broadcast spread across Vrathi channels. Earth's fleet is broken. Humanity surrenders. Colonies on Mars and Titan revolted, destroying their own defenses. Even Amina's mural was torn down. The Silent Queen took the bait. Her swarm descended on Earth like locusts. But this time, the humans were ready. The battle was dirty. In Nairobi, Ramirez led a squad through sewers, planting charges under frothy nests. The drones hissed, their bodies twitching with stolen human memories. Don't let them get in your head, Ramirez warned. They're just ghosts. Above, the destroyers ambushed the fleet. Kofi rammed a carrier, crushing it like a soda can. Mira hacked the Silent Queen's network, forcing her drones to turn on each other. But the Queen wasn't fooled. You think tricks defeat us? She screamed. We are the echo of your pain. She launched a final weapon, a memory bomb aimed at Lena herself. The blast hit the Siberian bunker. Lena collapsed, visions flooding her mind, her daughter burning, Amina's last transmission, Kofi's haunted stare. She screamed, clawing at her face. Then she saw Amina, not a ghost, not a memory, a voice, clear and sharp. You're still here, the girl said. Fight. Lena rose. She rerouted power to the Aegis, overriding its engines. The ship lurched forward, slamming into the Silent Queen's core. I'm not afraid of your ghosts, Lena whispered. I've got my own. The Aegis exploded. When the smoke cleared, the Vrathi were broken. Their drones fell from the sky, leaderless. The Silent Queen's core was ash, but Earth paid again. Kofi limped through the ruins of Nairobi, clutching Lena's shattered wristband. Mira survived, but her hands shook so badly she couldn't code. Ramirez buried the girl with braids, her mind shattered by the memory bomb, and Amina's name was etched into the Aegis memorial deck beside Lena's. The war wasn't over, but the Vrathi had learned something new. Fear. Humanity wasn't just fire anymore. They were ghosts. And ghosts never die. The galaxy noticed Earth the way a child notices an anthill after setting it ablaze. For decades, the Star Destroyers had hunted the Vrathi across the void, leaving trails of ash in their wake. But now, the swarm was gone. In its place were rumors, whispers of a mudball planet where humans didn't just survive. They conquered, and rumors drew predators. Kofi Mensa stood on the bridge of the SDS Aegis II, the rebuilt flagship of Earth's fleet. The original Aegis had died with Lena Voss, vaporized in her final strike against the Silent Queen. But Kofi kept her name etched into the new ship's hull, a blade-shaped scar across its black armor. "Scans show movement," Mira Chen said, her voice strained. Her hands still shook from radiation damage, but her mind was sharper than ever. She'd rebuilt the Aegis's AI with stolen Vrathi code, weaving human rage into alien logic. "Something's coming from the edge of the system." Kofi squinted at the hologram. A cluster of ships, sleek and silver, drifted toward Mars. No Vrathi markings, no weapons visible, just silence. "They're not here to fight," Mira muttered. "They're here to watch." On Earth, the survivors built monuments. Amina's face was carved into Mount Kilimanjaro, her name glowing in neon at night. Ramirez trained a new generation of soldiers in Nairobi's ruins, teaching them to fight ghosts they'd never see. Children played in the skeletons of dead Vrathi drones, turning war machines into playgrounds. But peace felt like a trap. "They'll come again," Ramirez told his recruits, tossing a plasma rifle to a girl with scars on her cheeks. "Maybe, not today. Maybe not this year. But someone out there will see what we did and think, 'Let's try that again.'" The girl grinned. "Let them." The first alien ship landed on the moon. Its crew called themselves the Thalzan, tall, golden-skinned beings with eyes like shattered glass. They spoke in riddles, offering friendship and protection. But Kofi saw the truth in their scans. Their ships carried weapons bigger than anything the Vrathi had used. "You think we're weak now?" he told the Thalzan envoy, his voice cold. "Come back when you've lost half your species to bugs in spacesuits." The envoy smiled. "We learn from the mistakes of others." The Thalzan weren't the only ones watching. In the Andromeda system, a rebel faction of Vrathi survivors huddled in the dark. The Silent Queen's death had fractured the swarm, but a new leader rose. A warlord named Kurex, his carapace fused with stolen human steel. "They made us weak," Kurex hissed to his council, his mandibles clicking with rage. "Now we become something else." His plan was simple. Steal Earth's tech, burn their colonies, forge a new hive from human bones. The first strike hit Titan. A mining colony exploded without warning, its reactors overloaded by a hidden virus. Survivors radioed Earth, screaming about ghosts in the walls. Vrathi drones reprogrammed to mimic human voices. "They're learning," Mira said, her fingers flying over the Aegis II's controls. "Krex is using our own tech against us." Kofi didn't hesitate. "Take us to Saturn. Burn him before he grows." The battle was a trap. Krex's fleet ambushed the destroyers near Enceladus, their ships painted with stolen Earth symbols, American flags, Chinese dragons, the Nairobi mural of Amina. "They're mocking us," Ramirez growled, his squad bleeding in the Titan snow. Mira hacked the Vrathi drones, forcing them to turn on each other. Kofi rammed Krex's flagship, splitting its hull with the Aegis II's reinforced prow. But the warlord survived, escaping into the void with a handful of followers. "They'll be back," Kofi muttered, staring at the wreckage. Earth didn't wait. The colonies expanded. Mars became a fortress, its skies guarded by rebuilt destroyers. Titan survivors forged a new army, blending human and Vrathi tech into nightmares, cyborg soldiers with plasma claws, AI drones that screamed in dead languages. Ramirez trained them all. "You think war's ugly?" He barked at a fresh recruit, his cigarette glowing in the dark. "Try losing again." The Thalzan returned. This time they brought an ultimatum: surrender Earth's fleet or face annihilation. Kofi answered by launching every destroyer into orbit. "We don't negotiate with bullies," he said. his fleet forming a wall of fire between Earth and the invaders. The battle lasted hours. The Thalzan ships were faster, their weapons stranger, lasers that turned metal to jelly, missiles that aged targets to dust. But the humans fought like cornered wolves. Mira hacked the aliens' navigation systems, sending their flagship crashing into Jupiter. Ramirez led a boarding party that tore the Thalzan admiral's heart from his chest with his bare hands. Victory came at a cost. 3 destroyers lost, dozens of soldiers dead. Earth's atmosphere choked with debris, but the galaxy learned a lesson. Humans didn't just survive, they multiplied. Kurex watched from the shadows, his surviving drones, recording every moment. "They are fire," he whispered to his war council, "and fire must be drowned." He turned his ships toward Proxima Centauri, where ancient ruins whispered of weapons older than the stars. The Vrathi would rise again. But so would Earth. On Nairobi's rebuilt streets, a new generation of children stared at the sky. They didn't know the old world. They'd never seen a city hole, never heard birdsong without static from orbital weapons. But they knew one thing: the stars were theirs, and they'd burn anyone who tried to take them. The weapon was called Oblivion, an ancient machine buried beneath Proxima Centauri's third planet. Its core pulsed with energy older than the Vrathi, older than the stars themselves. Kurex knelt before it, his carapace gleaming with stolen, human steel. "This will burn their worlds to cinders," he hissed, his voice vibrating with hunger. "Earth will kneel." But Earth wasn't kneeling. It was rising. Kofi Mensa stood on the SDS Aegis II, staring at the hologram of Kurex's fleet. The Vrathi warlord had rebuilt his swarm, blending stolen human tech with alien horrors. Ships shaped like screaming faces, drones fused with AI cores ripped from dead Earthlings. "They're coming for Mars," Mira Chen said, her hands trembling as she coded firewalls into the destroyer's systems. Her body was broken, but her mind was a storm. "They'll hit Earth next." Kofi's jaw tightened. Let them. He'd spent years turning Earth into a fortress. Mars was now a shield, its skies guarded by 43 star destroyers, each crewed by veterans who'd forgotten how to lose. Titan's colonies had become factories churning out weapons that could split atoms. And Nairobi? Nairobi was a graveyard of Vrathi corpses, its streets paved with the bones of those who'd tried to conquer it. The galaxy called Earth a monster. Humans called it home. Ramirez trained the new soldiers in the Sahara, where sandstorms buried Vrathi wrecks like ancient whales. The recruits were teenagers, their skin scarred by radiation, their eyes sharp as blades. "You think the Vrathi are the worst?" Ramirez barked, tossing a plasma rifle to a girl with braids. "Wait till you meet the Thalzan, or the bugs, that come after them." The girl grinned. Let them try. She wasn't wrong. Humanity had stopped fearing extinction. Now, they hunted. The battle began at Proxima Centauri. Kurex activated Oblivion, a beam of black light slicing through space, vaporizing a Martian colony in seconds. The shockwave reached Earth days later, shattering windows and turning oceans to steam. "They've got a planet killer," Mira hissed, her fingers flying over the controls. "We need to destroy it now." Kofi didn't hesitate. All ships jumped to Proxima. The destroyers surged through the void, their engines roaring like angry gods. The Vrathi swarm met them in a storm of fire. Drones shrieked, their bodies melting in the destroyers' Gawain plasma trails. Kurex's flagship, a grotesque fusion of human and Vrathi tech, rammed the SDS Reaper, tearing it apart. The crew died screaming, but their sacrifice bought time. Mira hacked Oblivion's control systems, forcing the weapon to overload. "It's got a 10-minute timer," she shouted. "We run or we die." Kofi leaned into the comms mic. "We don't run." He ordered the Aegis II to ram Oblivion's core. The explosion lit up 3 star systems. Kurex died screaming, his body reduced to ash. The Vrathi swarm scattered, leaderless, but Earth paid again. The Aegis II was gone. Kofi's last transmission was simple. Tell Ramirez to train more kids. Back on Earth, the survivors mourned. Amina's face was carved into the moon's surface, her name etched beside Lena Voss's and Kofi's. Mira retired to a Martian colony, her hands too broken to code, but her mind still sharp enough to teach. Ramirez trained a new generation, his voice gruff but proud. "You think this war made us monsters?" he told his recruits, lighting a cigarette in the dark. "No, it made us alive. The Vrathi wanted us dead. Instead, we learned to burn." The galaxy noticed alien empires sent diplomats bearing gifts and cautious smiles. They called Earth a rogue species, a wild card. Some feared them, others respected them, but none dared attack. The Star Destroyers patrolled the stars now, not as weapons, but as warnings. Humanity's colonies spread like wildfire, on Europa's ice, Venus's clouds, even the rings of Uranus. And the children? They grew up in zero-G, learning to fight before they could read. They played games where they reenacted the battles of Mars and Proxima Centauri. They dreamed of the day they'd meet a new enemy, a new chance to prove they were unbroken. Centuries later, when Earth's sun began to die, humanity didn't flee. They rebuilt. They forged new suns. They took what they needed. Because the Vrathi had taught them one thing. Mercy was a weakness. And Earth's children, they'd never be weak again.